Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Cookin and Kickin It with Shep. That is myself, obviously. And this is a Sunday series where I will be doing different cooking demos. I'll be having guests on like tonight. And so thank you for joining us. If you could do me a favor, go ahead and like and share this so that other people can see as well. And let me know who you are and where you are from in the world. Tonight we have a very special guest. His name is Patrick Tokuyama, and he is a Japanese cookbook creator and food author. And he's going to be showing us how to make authentic Japanese cuisine. So if you are cooking with us, let us know that as well. If you didn't get a chance to get your recipes ahead of time, we will definitely post a link to that. It is at bit.ly/cookjapanese, and I'll put that up on the screen as well. And right now I'm going to welcome in Patrick. Give me just a moment. All right, turn him up. All right, Patrick, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, yeah.
All right, perfect. So I did your little intro and things like that. If there's anything you want to let everybody know, you can go ahead and do that now, and I'll put the link to the recipes up as well.
All right, guys, so how's it going? My name is Pat Tokuyama. I'm the creator of All Day Like a Shark, where I share my Japanese cooking videos once a week, showing you how to make Japanese food. So if we haven't met before, I think last time we talked about making some dishes with dashi stock, which is what we're going to be making today. I have a recipe for you called Nikujaga, which is literally Japanese meat and potatoes. And I have most of my ingredients here ready to go. Let me give you a little bit of a walkthrough before we get started. And by the way, feel free to comment or ask questions as we progress. I have my little chat window here so I can see.
And I'll be helping. Yeah, I can hear you, and I'll be helping Patrick respond too, so feel free to ask.
Yeah, okay, sweet. Okay, so you guys can hear me, right? You can see me?
Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear Patrick in the comments? Or if you don't have an iPhone, give us a 1. That works too.
I can hear myself on here.
Okay.
I'll give myself a thumbs up. So, all right. So the first thing that we're going to do is microwave these potatoes. So this is something that you don't really see too often in American cooking. It is microwaving vegetables. I think in Japanese cooking, a lot of times they'll utilize the microwave to cook their vegetables, partly because they don't have too much space and because it's pretty quick. So if you've never microwaved your potatoes, it's definitely something I'd recommend doing, especially if you're going to do like a potato salad, mashed potatoes. It doesn't require as much work as boiling and then draining and then doing whatever it is that you're going to do with your potatoes. So I always microwave them, do it for about 3 to 5 minutes. I just have 2 little ones right here. So this is maybe about a cup and a half's worth. So
and that's something you can do with sweet potatoes as well if you poke them a couple times with a fork. I know at lunch some of the teachers at my job.
Yep, you can do it with any kind of a root vegetable. So I'm going to do that for about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You can do it for 4 to 5 minutes if you want it softer. Here I have 1 onion. So usually you're supposed to use a yellow or white onion, but I didn't have that today. We're just going to use a red onion, same thing. And we're also going to microwave this too. So this is a little bit of a hack. You can microwave your onions, and that'll cut down on your cooking time as well. So I'm just going to slice this very thinly. And in terms of the other ingredients, I have about a pound of beef. So this is thinly sliced beef here that we're using. If you can't get thinly sliced beef, what you can do is just get any kind of cut of steak. I recommend ribeye or chuck maybe, both of those have a lot of flavor, and just try to slice it as thinly as possible, and that'll give you a lot of flavor. So let's go ahead and cut the onion here. This is going to be the most work that we're going to have to do today.
And I know last time we talked about debating which recipe we were going to make, and we decided that we would just make both. So I'm making the teriyaki, and then Patrick is making the potato and beef stew. So we're both using a red onion. And like you said, you can use any kind of onion you like. There are differences in them. Usually red onions are better for eating raw, but they cook just the same as like a yellow onion, so it's fine.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to really cook is going to be the beef. So I'm going to do about a half pound, not all of it. We're going to do sort of a small batch today. And if you're wondering what this is here, this is the actual dashi stock. So I wanted to show you what I used to make it, as well as the ingredients left over after making it. The first thing that we're going to do while that's cooking, get our pot heated here to brown the meat.
And then for the people that weren't on last week, can you give us a little refresher of what the dashi stock actually is?
So I always use extra virgin olive oil when I cook. I like the spice, and it's also healthy for you, so that's what I use.
Patrick, can you hear me?
What's that?
Oh, I was saying, for the people that weren't on with us last week, can you give a little explanation of what the dashi stock actually is?
Yeah, definitely. Let me get the beef started, and then we'll talk about the dashi really quick.
Okay. And so if you are tuning in tonight, let us know whether or not you have ever made Japanese food before. We put that up in a poll last time, but we have some new people in here tonight. So let us know if that's something that you make at home regularly, or if this is your first time watching or trying it out. So let us know. Check the comments. Let's see.
So I just put in a half pound of beef.
Okay.
And as soon as this starts to brown, that's when we can add in all the other ingredients to start simmering. And last week we were talking about dashi stock, which is one of the key ingredients in Japanese cuisine. It's used for all kinds of different things, from vegetables, meat, fish, soup, as well as stew. And this is what I have here. This is one type of dashi stock. This is the second extraction. So the raw ingredients that are used to make dashi are right here. So these are katsuobushi flakes. These are dry fermented fish flakes. And then this is kombu, also known as kelp, or dried seaweed. It's a type of seaweed. And this is what was used to create this dashi stock. So in order to get fish flakes like this, you can see, I'll show you how flaky they are. So they're very flaky, and they're almost translucent, if you can see. You can almost see right through it. So they're very thinly shaved. And then the machine that you're actually, or the device that you actually use to shave it, it's called a kabuki. And this is what it is. This is what it looks like. So literally, there's a razor here. It's a very sharp razor, and you go back and forth using a block. This is a whole block of the fish, the dried fermented fish, and you just go back and forth multiple times, and then it collects the shavings underneath here.
Okay.
It's a specialized device.
That kind of looks like if you all have a mandolin, usually you want to be very careful with those because the blade's super sharp. And that kind of looks like that. I've never seen a wooden one before.
Yeah, so it's very similar to a mandolin, a little bit more specialized in that way. So you got to be careful once you microwave your potatoes. They are going to be pretty hot.
Yeah. For sure.
So these are ready to be simmered. Okay. I'm just going to give my beef a little bit of a stir.
And then once Patrick's dish gets going, I'm going to.
And the reason that you want to brown your beef is because of the Maillard reaction. If you've never heard of that, it's the same thing that happens to coffee when it's roasted. So coffee's turned from a green dried bean to a brown or black roasted coffee bean, and that's in part due to the Maillard reaction. So that's the caramelization that happens within food, and that helps to really bring out a lot of flavor to anything that you brown. So like fish, for example, if you want to sear a fish and give it a nice crust. Let me show you. It's not brown quite yet, but this is how the meat looks so far.
Okay, cool.
You have a little bit of caramelization right there.
And then I'll be getting some of that too with the teriyaki also as well, right?
Yeah. And then so going back to the dashi, this is what the leftover ingredients look like. So here is the kelp that we used, and then this is the dry fermented fish flakes. So I'll give you a close up just to see what that looks like.
Okay. And Patrick, for all of these are things that people can purchase. Like they can already purchase the dashi already done, right? They don't have to go through all of these steps, correct? Okay, cool.
You don't need to make it from scratch. You can buy the packets. I'll show you what those look like. You can get it on Amazon. They're very easy to find.
Okay. And we can link to some of those as well, too. Yeah,
this is what the packets look like. They're much more straightforward if you don't want to make it from scratch. Literally, all you have to do is add some water to this, and then you have dashi.
Okay, cool. So if you are just tuning in, this is Chef Ashley Shep and Patrick Tokuyama. He's the author of the Japanese Cuisine Cookbook and All Day I Eat Like a Shark.
Okay, so the next thing that I said we were going to do is microwave the onion. So the onion's going to be cooked slightly, and this also helps to eliminate some of the excess moisture, and then it'll help to absorb the sauce as well while it's cooking. So I'm going to use a whole onion here. This is about 1.5 cups worth. We're just going to slice it. Doesn't need to be exact.
And is that go ahead. Is that something you could put in that device that you had before, or is that strictly just for not the kelp, but the fish flakes? Is that strictly for the fish flakes, or could you do your onion in that as well?
Sorry, was that a question? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, sorry. For the wooden, I don't want to call it a mandolin, but for the wooden mandolin, could you also slice other things inside that, or is that strictly made just for the fish flakes?
Yeah, it's a specialized device, so you can't use it for anything except for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like to ask.
All right, guys, so this is just about as brown as I usually cook my meat. So you can see there's a little bit of caramelization there. And then we can deglaze it, so put on some of the dashi stock to get all those good bits off.
Right. And that's something, even with non-Japanese dishes, you can go ahead and pour it. Even with non-Japanese dishes, that's called deglazing the pan. So if you have broth or you had water, a very like white wine, you can do that as well with pretty much any dish once you have those good dripping bits in there. So.
Yep. So we're just gonna microwave this for about 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then
I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of my ingredients for the teriyaki while you do that.
Okay. So here I have a tablespoon of mirin. So this is similar to sake. Remember, it's a little bit sweeter on the sweeter side. So this is mirin. A tablespoon is what we're going to be using today. I also have sake. This is the alcohol that we talked about. If you can't find this, or if you don't have it in your pantry, you can substitute with dry sherry. It's a common substitute. Might be easier to find for some people. So we're going to use a 1/4 cup of sake, which I have right here. So that was, just to recap, 1 tablespoon of mirin, 1/4 cup of sake, and then a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, or shoyu. That's what I have right here. And then I use 2 cups of dashi. So that's going to be our base sauce for this meat and potatoes dish. And then I usually like to serve it with a little bit of green onions, so we'll chop some green onions. Mm-hmm. And then we'll also cut these potatoes into little cubes, bite-sized cubes. And then we'll simmer it for about 15 to 20 minutes roughly. And since we use the microwave, that really cuts down on the cooking time. If you didn't use the microwave, you'd have to simmer it at least 40 to 50 minutes minimum.
Oh, wow.
And then, like anything that's simmered or anything that's like a stew, it always tastes better the next day as the flavors penetrate whatever ingredients you have. So look forward to eating it today and even more so tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So I'm just going to cut some onions right now. Green onions. And then I'm going to cut the potatoes into little bits, little bite-sized pieces.
And then for the green onions, are you going to cook the white parts of them at the bottom?
Yeah, I actually include all of it.
Okay.
I used to hate the white part, but I include it all now. I'm just chopping these very coarsely, so you can see here. Nothing fancy. And then we can go ahead and throw in the potatoes. I'm just going to cut these into bite-sized pieces.
And a lot of times you'll see in recipes to cut things in like an inch cube or bite-sized pieces, and partially that's because they'll cook the same time, and it'll also make it so it's easier to fit in your mouth, obviously.
Yeah, that's one of the. I took a cooking class one time, and that's one of the things that the instructor told me. I never really thought of it this way. Is that the difference between eating at a nice restaurant versus just like a cheap restaurant is that if there's a professionally trained chef, they'll make sure that all of the ingredients are cut to the same size so that they cook at the same rate, right? If you have like a big fat piece of potato versus a small piece of potato, that small piece of potato is going to cook much quicker than the fat piece of potato. So something to keep in mind. And for this,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter because we already cooked it all in the microwave, so they're evenly cooked for this dish.
Okay. But yeah, that is something to keep in mind because that's how you burn things, like especially with garlic. If you leave it on too long, or if you're doing oven roasted potatoes, the chopping size is definitely important to make sure they're about even.
Yep. So here's the cooked onion. So I did it for about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We're gonna go ahead and drop all this in here and bring it to a simmer if it's not already simmering. And then we're gonna put in the potatoes and cover partially, and then in about 15 to 20 minutes, you'll be able to eat it. So pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And perfect for a weeknight meal.
Okay, if you're watching right now, let us know if this sounds like something you would make, if it sounds easy, complicated. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them. And we picked this recipe because it's kind of similar to a beef stew feel. It has some of the same flavors, some of the same ingredients, but with a Japanese twist. So it could be something that your kids would most likely eat if they're okay with beef and potatoes. Most kids eat potatoes, so seems simple enough.
Yep. All right, Ashley. So I don't know if you're ready to go ahead and start your dish, but
I am.
Okay.
And as we mentioned before, or as I mentioned before, these recipes are available in that link that's in the bottom. It should be your left. It's backwards for me. In the bottom corner, bit.ly/cookjapanese. And the 2 recipes that we're making are available there. It's a free cookbook that Patrick has so graciously given to us. So definitely click that link and download yours so that you can get started with cooking Japanese food today. So I'm going to use a skillet since I'm on the island. And I'm going to turn this on over medium heat. And I'm going to be making chicken teriyaki. So I went ahead and chopped my chicken, and I have some red onions once again. We believe in using whatever you have because at the end of the day, it all gets mixed together anyway. And so I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Now, Patrick, for this, could I also use sesame oil instead?
You can, if that's the flavor that you prefer. It makes it it gives it a little bit of a different flavor profile. But sesame does go good with teriyaki. You can actually top your teriyaki sauce with toasted sesame seeds.
Oh, okay, that's fancy, Patrick. I might try that. Let me get some sesame. Let me get some sesame oil. Okay, so most of the time you probably use olive oil. This is sesame oil, my last little bit. And this is going to make it. I'm going to go ahead and split screen us actually so you can see both of us while we cook. Alright, so this is sesame oil and it gives kind of like an Asian flavor to it. And so I'm going to I might mix a little bit of it since I only have a bit left. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of some kind of oil. And then you're just going to cook your food. Or less because I don't have enough. So you're just going to cook whatever your meat is. Inside of that, let it brown. Obviously, you want to cook it till it's almost complete before you add in your sauce. And let's see, Tiffany has a question. I'm going to pop it up in there. She said, how long was the red onion in the microwave, Patrick?
3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, that's a pretty good amount.
You can, if you want really soft onions, you could do like 4 to 5 minutes, but you might need to rotate it if it's not cooking evenly. But usually around 3 to 4 minutes is okay without touching it.
Okay, cool. And both of those steps are optional. You didn't have to do that. He just did that to save time. So, no problem there. And I went ahead and chopped my chicken into bite-sized cubes. I'm going to add it directly. Turn my heat down a little bit. I'm going to add it directly into my pan. And the red onions are not required for this recipe, but I just like onions, so I added them in.
Onions with teriyaki are a good combo.
Say it one more time.
Onions with teriyaki is a good combo. Good choice.
Yes, exactly. And normally I'll do bell peppers. I didn't have any, so I didn't add them. All right.
Bell peppers are also another good choice.
Okay. Sorry, I can't hear you over the clapping.
Oh, bell peppers are also another good choice.
Let me lean a little bit closer. What'd you say?
Bell peppers are also another good choice.
Oh, okay. Okay. When we did our sound check, we didn't really account for the sizzling. So if you see us leaning in a little bit, that's why. So So I'm adding in those things. I'm going to make sure that they cook evenly on all sides because obviously I don't want to get any type of salmonella situations. And my pan's not crowded, and that's going to make sure that everything cooks evenly. Move this out of the way. And so how many of you out there have made chicken teriyaki, shrimp teriyaki, steak teriyaki before? Let us know. And let us know if you make yours differently than this or if you use the same recipe. And so I'm going to let that cook. Oh, one thing that's important is that you might have seen me, I patted them down with paper towels a little bit before. And that's going to make it so that it not fries, but it gets a little crispier and it doesn't have that weird wet chicken situation on it. So I'm going to let that sit. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and make the sauce for it. And so I have, and pronounce this one more time for me, Patrick. I always mess it up. How do you say it? Marin?
Oh, mirin.
Mirin? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do some of this. And this I just found, I think at like Kroger or something like that. Or if you have a farmer's market, you can use that as well. Move this back. This is loud and in my face. And so if you have a Kroger farmer's market, you can find it there. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the mirin to this. And like Patrick was saying, this is kind of like sake if you've been to Japanese restaurants, like the hibachi restaurants, or if you went to school at UGA and they tried to get you to do sake bombs. It's kind of like similar to sake. And so then I'm going to do.
It's actually kind of sweet, but.
Okay. Well, is it made in a similar process at all?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, they used to drink it back in the old days because it was sweet. Women used to like to drink mirin, but not so much today.
Okay, gotcha. And that's why you're here, because you're the expert. And then I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm using the light soy sauce. I'm sorry, low sodium. And last week, Patrick told us the difference between those two. Can you remind us of that difference for folks that weren't here last week with us between low sodium and then light soy sauce?
Yeah, so the difference, it's kind of like confusing, right? If you're not familiar with Japanese cuisine, you would think that light soy sauce is actually low sodium soy sauce, but that's not the case. So light soy sauce is lighter in flavor, but higher in sodium. It's also lighter in color, just slightly. And then there's low sodium soy sauce, which is totally separate. So those are 2 different things.
Okay. Very important distinction. And I didn't even know about light soy sauce, so that is something I'm going to look for next time I go to the store, since I'm almost out of this stuff. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar. And can you tell us what the sugar will kind of add to this as an ingredient?
Well, the sugar balances out the saltiness. So in Japanese, we say amakarai. So that means sweet and salty. So that's what we're doing here with the teriyaki sauce. There's a lot of different sauces that you can make that are also sweet and salty, and teriyaki is one example.
Okay. All right. So I have my mirin, my soy sauce, and I think I'm good. So my chicken, I'm going to go ahead and flip it. And normally at this step, I'd also probably add in some onion powder and garlic powder as well. That's just because I add it to everything. But I'm going to follow Patrick's recipe and do it like he said.
You can make it however you want.
Right. I got to get the authentic experience and make sure I'm honoring the cuisine. All right. So while we're waiting for that to cook, if you all have any questions about Japanese cuisine or any of the different ingredients that we have talked about, let us know. And this is a good time to answer them. Once my meat is cooked a little througher, I'm going to add in my mixture. And it doesn't look too exciting, but it's got some good stuff in there. So, let's see. Let's check our comments. All right, we have Donnie checking in from Chicago. Thanks for tuning in, Donnie. And he said he's never made Japanese food before. I definitely think teriyaki would be a dish that your kids would love. Donnie has 4 kids, and I'm sure that they love to grub, so they would probably enjoy this, or even the potatoes too. And then we have Tiffany And I think Tiffany's in Detroit. Thanks for tuning in, Tiffany. She was with us last week as well. And scrolling through, we have Aunt Vicky in Clinton, Maryland. Thanks for tuning in, Aunt Vicky. I think she was with us last week too. And Nicole from Florida. All right. So about how much longer do you think you have on your stew?
So usually I simmer it, for around 30 to 40 minutes, but you can, if you want, you can see how it tastes. Obviously, as the sauce reduces a little bit, it's going to taste more concentrated flavor-wise.
Okay.
Let me just show you what it looks like up close.
All right, nice. I was going to say, don't rush the process if you have to let it cook a little longer. Okay, so Tiffany says she's made teriyaki with white onions, green and red peppers, sesame oil, carrots, low sodium teriyaki, and she adds in green onions in the mix and garnishes with green onions at the end. Garlic powder, onion powder, a little black pepper. Same thing. Tiffany, have you tried white pepper before? I know that's something that's sometimes used in some Asian dishes that I've seen online, and I also add it to like chicken. It's good on steak. It's made from the same peppercorn seed as black pepper, but it's processed differently and adds a nice touch to it as well. It's kind of a sneaky spice, so be careful. Don't add as much as you would with black pepper because you might get a surprise that you're not expecting. So.
Yeah, you got to be careful not to inhale it. I always inhale it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Let's see. I don't know if I can bring mine closer. So I am giving some of that caramelization that's on there that Patrick was talking about on the chicken as well. That he had on his. All right. So, and yeah, Tiffany is from Detroit. Okay. Oh, the scientific name. Yes. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Now I'm going to check my chicken. Anytime you cook chicken, you want to make sure it is reaching 165 degrees. I have a food thermometer. I don't always use it, but if it's something you want to invest in, it's a good idea. And you want to test in the thickest part of the chicken. But if you are putting them in similar sizes, then you'll know like something that's about that size. It might take a little bit less time to cook than something that's about that size. But if you're using tongs, you can just use them together like this and squish through it and check the center if you don't have a thermometer. And to me, that's a little bit easier when I'm making like fajitas or things that are in chunks instead of using a spoon, because then I can manipulate individual pieces instead of having to use a spatula or a spoon to flip them over. So just a random side tip. All right. I think and if you want to also cook them faster, you can obviously add a lid. That helps a lot with it as well. I'm going to check some of mine. I think they need a little longer. Oh, no. Might be good. And we should have set it, all right, we need a little bit longer on some of them. We should have set a timer to see how long this one took, because I know a lot of the complaints that busy families and busy moms have is that they can't get dinner done in less than 20 minutes. And this is definitely something that you can get done in 20 minutes because the sauce takes literally like a minute or two. And it's also something that you can have your kids be involved with as well, with measuring things out. And if you were to do that, you could get, you'd want to obviously get flat measuring cups, but there's also flat measuring spoons that sit on flat on the counter. So if they were to measure out the tablespoon of sugar, then they can put it down and you're not worried about it wobbling over. And actually I have some so I can show you. So like this is a set that I have, and the bottom of it is flat right there. So then I can pour liquid in here and it's not going to wobble around. It's not going to fall over. So can put a link to this as well. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pour in my sauce, Patrick.
Go for it. Make sure that as you add the sauce, make sure to stir it right away because it'll thicken up and coat the meat right away.
Okay. All right, we got some chemical changes going on here, so I'm gonna make sure I stir. And then I saw in the recipe you also added the option to add cornstarch. Can you share what that will do to it? And how
Yeah, you can. That would be if you want a thicker sauce. You would probably put it in before you add in everything. So you probably have to dissolve the cornstarch and the sauce before you put it into the pan because it'll thicken everything up right away as soon as it gets heated.
Okay. And as soon as I poured that in, I felt like I was at a Japanese restaurant. Like, not to be silly, but I think it's the murder that's in it. It's given it that I can't describe the smell of it, but it's just such a strong, potent combined with the soy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice. And I mean,
So
of course, if you wanted to alter the flavor a little bit, you could add a little bit more sugar if you were feeding it to your kids and it was too pungent. Or you could do like honey or agave nectar or something like that. That, of course, wouldn't be as authentic, but if you need to do it, you need to do it. All right, I'm going to turn this down some. And you, of course, would serve this with some rice. I normally have some brown rice in the fridge done. And I like to use my rice cooker for that. Or you can do noodles with it. And I'll give you, let's see if I can give you a close-up without knocking this over. Okay. All right, so we got some good color going on there. Whoop. Sorry. And I'll give you a close-up as well. I'm trying not to drip it on my computer. All right, so we got some nice coloring, nice flavor on that. Now let me get a fork so I can try this out.
Looks good.
Did I do a good job, Patrick? Did I do it right?
We'll taste it. Taste it and let us know.
Let me get a fork. Or I'm going to get a toothpick like how they do at the mall when they give you the samples. Okay. Let's see. Make sure it's not too hot. Let me get some onions. Moment of truth. It's got like the slightly crunchy out exterior. Ah, this is very good. Let me get my taste tester husband in here and let him try some. Okay, maybe some more. Very good. And it's not too, even though the he said that, and I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Even though the marin has a little bit of a sweet flavor, it's not overwhelmingly sweet. Which
no, and I don't like my food too sweet. So if you prefer more of a sweet flavor in your teriyaki sauce, all you have to do is add a little bit more sugar. Okay. Maybe like a half tablespoon to a tablespoon, but I wouldn't go over that because then it'll be too sweet. That's my opinion, though.
Right.
You'll have to try it and see for yourself what you like.
Yeah, and I mean that's a quick and easy adjustment. Even if you had already made it, you could actually probably just remake a batch of the sauce and then just turn it back up and cook it again. And since it does this thing so quickly, it's not going to make your chicken too tough. So.
Nope. Or you can just cook the sauce by itself, just reduce it until it's a little bit thick, and you can just pour it over.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. All right, let's see if you have any more questions in the comments while I stuff my face. Let me turn this comment on. All right, so, okay. So if you have enjoyed this experience, Patrick has a lot of different cool things for you over on his website. And we can put a link to that in the comments or in the notes for this episode. And if you have enjoyed this as well, please like, share this with whoever you think might enjoy watching us cook, might enjoy cooking along with us. And once again, I am Chef Ashley Shep. I'm going to say your deal, Patrick. And this is Patrick Tokuyama. He's in the comments, so he's not paying attention. And this has been Cookin and Kickin It with Chef Ashley Shep. Thank you all for tuning in and having a great night. Let us know if you make this week or in the next week because it's an awesome addition to your rotation. Have a good one. Good night.
All right. See you later.